before this conference, I decided that I would not prepare my talk before having heard the others on the first day. I did not want to repeat a discussion that we had already been having. So the plan was that I would write my talk last night. However, last night I came home and thought, you know what? It's really better if I write it tomorrow morning, when I'm fresh and sober. It seemed a good idea, but my brain somehow had another plan. So while trying to sleep, my mind started preparing in that weird half-awake way, half asleep with crazy associations, which can be inspiring for poetry, but not really for a talk on fiction and non-fiction. So I didn't really sleep well, and today I feel a bit jet-lagged.
Welcome.
However, here I am. Being a writer of fiction and non-fiction, I often get the question if there is a difference, and if so, what is the difference between writing non-fiction and fiction? I must confess, I do not really care if my essays are sold as fiction, non-fiction, philosophy, autobiography, or even inspirational self-help. As long as the label helps selling the book. However, while the labeling afterwards is not that important to me, I must say that there is an important difference for me between writing a novel and writing a non-fiction essay. My answer to the question what the difference is usually that in my non-fiction work I try to explain things. I use anecdotes and observations, but I always analyze them and explain something. Whereas in my fictional work I never explain anything. In fiction, I rather let the reader feel, see, and experience the world. I take the reader with me in a stream of thoughts and experiences of characters, but I never start explaining by using arguments, statements, or theories. While writing a novel, I feel like a magician. I conjure up this world, these persons that become characters in my story. I can think of anything and it could become part of my story. I see a rabbit in the grass along the street and I think, oh, the main character should have this inner dialogue with the rabbit. She should confess to the rabbit. So, that is a very different way of thinking and creating compared to non-fiction writing. However, this does not mean that I'm not concerned with truth while writing fiction. In a certain way, I even believe that I can be more rigorously truthful, more honest in fiction. But what do I actually mean by this? Yesterday, different kinds of truth seem to have been at stake. Truth as truthful, as the real, the objective, the authentic, the honest, the correct. However, what kind of truth do I mean when I say that I feel I can be more truthful in fiction? If we look at how truth is analyzed in history, and here my philosophy background comes in. So, if we start with the pre-Socratics and Plato, truth used to be connected to a higher truth, to the good and the godly. To strive for truth and truthfulness in one's life also meant striving for the good. One could say that searching for truth was connected to a very personal, subjective goal, transforming one's soul, becoming a better person. This is a very different truth from the scientific, provable truth nowadays. One can be a very serious scholar trying to unravel some kind of particular scientific truth and be a horrible person, let's say, in a family situation. The idea that revealing truth in one's work goes hand in hand with the wish to be a good and truthful person in social life has been lost since a long time. Perhaps since the sciences emancipated themselves from philosophy. Or perhaps after Descartes. The philosopher that wanted to find a fundament of truth on which we could start building a trustworthy vision of reality and humankind, a true representation of life and the world. After doubting everything in his meditations, even the reliability of our senses, Descartes found his basic truth, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Even if we are dreaming and nothing of our reality is really real, we still know that we think that we see the things the way they are, or we think we are dreaming. That we know for sure. We think. Thus, we are. In short, on the one hand, we have the moral, Socratic kind of truth connected to becoming a better person. On the other hand, there is the truth that is connected to proof and certainty, Descartes' fundament. A is A, B is B. The last is the more common meaning that we are used to. So, how does this relate to my statement that I can be more honest and truthful in fiction? This is interesting because I definitely do not mean that I attempt to become a better person while writing fiction or to mold my characters as exemplary people from whom we could learn life lessons as to become better people, as Plato wished. Sooner the other way around. When I say that I can be more honest in fiction, I mean that I can be ruthless. Always in a subtle way, but nonetheless ruthless. I can portray the ugly side of people. I show how people delude themselves, how they are unfaithful to themselves and to others. I let them say things that I would never dare say myself. If my characters would be based on living persons who would be still alive, then I would not write this way about them. The empathy and the shame that I feel in reality disappear while writing fiction. However, in this way, I do portray a very truthful side of people today, I would say. So this kind of truthfulness is closer to Descartes' truth than to Plato's. However, it does not concern a factual reality. And perhaps, therefore, this kind of truthfulness, the rigorous truth or the ruthless portrayal of people, is something that is accepted in fiction and less in non-fiction. Especially when it concerns psychological insights, motives, and rhetoric of the mind. Fiction can be very intimate. We can follow the protagonist under the shower, or having weird sexual fantasies, things I would never write about in essays. Fiction in that sense is actually more like acting. You know, I would never tell very intimate details about myself, especially not to an anonymous public. But when acting, when you're playing a role, another character, you can easily do that. You can easily tell all these embarrassing things. And that's how it feels when writing fiction. While actually in my essays, I do use personal experiences, but not in such a personal way. So I do actually use autobiographic facts and experiences, but it feels less intimate. So I can write in such an intimate and revealing way in fiction because it's not really about myself. So now I'm thinking of another duality concerning truth, the duality that Virginia Woolf pointed out. Virginia Woolf comes up this morning for the third time. In two of her most anthologized essays, Modern Fiction and Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Brown, Woolf attacks realism, arguing that the novelist should no longer attempt to describe the world as objectively as possible. Instead, Woolf holds, the novelist should be concerned with the spirit. This does not mean that she does not want to be truthful in her descriptions of reality. In fact, she tries to achieve a more authentic engagement with the real than realism could possibly attain. This distinction that Woolf makes could be described as a distinction between inner and outer truthfulness. The reality that we can observe is the outside reality, which Woolf actually characterized as materialist. She called realism materialist. But the inside reality is the reality of thought, afterthoughts, associations, feelings, and memories. It is the truth of this inside reality that interests me when writing fiction. So.